So now I'm just looking at this page, and now I can record this progression. So look, track 1, plugin 1, I have it. Okay, from the intro. So I'm using the same instrument, which is important because it reminds me that it's the same band playing another sequence. Each sequence comes with the amount of bars you want to record. Since our verse, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna changing the setup, the sequence bar amount by 16. Done. And now when I hit play, the metronome is gonna count 16 and then loop it again and again until I stop it. Since this is the first recording, record button, play from the start. Okay, so let's just erase this and record another take. I like it, so I'm gonna punch another one the same way. See, it's gonna repeat the same thing. I'm gonna build another track. With the bass line. Bass line. Okay, so you know how you see how it works. Now I'm gonna find a bass what actually makes sense. I'm looking for something softer. Okay, let's use this one. So now, since this is the track 2, I'm going to... And look, now I've got the music sheet. I can just follow. So the bass line is going to play A minor, D7 altered. So I'm going to use these chords from the build. And so basically everything becomes much cleaner and more precise. And I don't wonder where I am, what kind of chord is this? Because after a month or two, you will totally forget the chord progression. So imagine I'm looking for more like an acoustic sound of the bass. I don't want to spend more time just to search for one. It's just the example of how you're going to manipulate the whole situation. Track 3, plugin 3. gonna skip this for now. So the strings in verse are going to complement the harmony, and the last thing I want to do is to kind of get away from the voice, lyrics, wherever. Sharp 11. Oh yeah. So you get the idea, right? Beautiful. Okay, so you go to sequence number 3, you hit the pencil on the screen, you hit the sequence name, and you change it. Our new name, it's gonna be verse 1. And you click do it. So when you go back to the next sequence button, you've got intro and you've got verse number 1. Of course, we are going to do the same thing towards verse number 2, a chorus, a bridge, an ending, etc. The way we describe the sequences in this MPC-X machine describes more like a traditional way of thinking about music. We're talking about intro, we're talking about the verse, we're talking about chorus, and guess what? Every single one kind of got a different chords progression. These days, this loop thing allows us to kind of do 8 beats or 16 beats, and you get excited, you do 16 different layers, etc. Now, you can go after that pencil. Let me demonstrate. You go back to the project, you hit the pencil in a sequence 1, you hit the pencil, and you do copy, sequence, copy, sequence, copy, sequence, copy, sequence, copy, sequence. So now you just copied 6 versions of the same sequence. There is a logic behind the scene. So now you change the names of the sequence, then sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you go to the next song button, and they are all spelled over here. Now when you hit, they basically play the same thing. But you can go into this every single sequence and eliminate layers of music. Like the first sequence could start with the bass drum and the bass line, right? And in the next sequence, you're going to unmute strings. In the next sequence, you're going to keep unmuted strings, and you're going to add a synthesizer. You see what I'm going with it? So people kind of take the composition that way, and basically your ear gets entertained by receiving another layer, and kind of you build up upon that. The way we describe the music composition, it's more insightful, and because you don't repeat the same piano, you don't repeat the same bass, but the chords progression changes so as the musician and the notes he uses. So there is nothing wrong with either. It's just I'm saying that I've got more control if I seriously think about releasing something solid, good. I would rather spend a lot of time working on this concept what we described earlier. Our tip of the day would be this. You deal with sequences. Your sequence has 8 bars. You put several layers into that package deal. You're about to copying it 7 times. So I'm thinking, why don't you edit that 8 bars first? What it means? It means fixing every mistake, go through every layer, make sure that the notes are organized and everything is on beat, the volume of each phrase is correct the way you want. So basically what you do to those 8 bars, you polish them into perfection. Once you decide this is it, this is what I want, now you're copying it 7 times. Why is it so important? Because if you copy the same mistakes or imperfections 7 times, you will have a hard time to fixing it later, because you're going to work 7 times harder than you should. Editing is pain in the butt. However, you learn a lot from it. Why is that? Because you mute the rest of the voicings. And then you go into editing mode and you observe, right? The volume, articulation, the length of each note, the correct, if they are correct, if they go with the harmony movement, right? From the harmony perspective. Now, you unleash another layer and you observe how they relate to each other. So it's like a conversation between 2 instruments. So now you train your ear training. You see how powerful this is? So now you've got 2 layers, you unleash 3rd one. And basically you've got 3 voices, 4 voices, 5 voices. If something doesn't click, you will notice it. Why? I'm going to tell you in a second, okay? So you basically polish them to the point that everything makes sense. Now, if I were you, I could start with instruments first, instrument responsible for using the harmony progression. I will mute any form of beats away from your editing work for now. You concentrate on the relationships, what we just described, and then you measure if they make sense, if they are enough, powerful, if they are acceptable. Okay? Once you have it, you start fooling around with the beats, which means when you add the beat and you try working on the beat, you've got the instruments on top, what basically they go with it. So any form of dysfunction, you will notice, and then you will basically stand in the front of the decision making. What should I do? Should I raise it? Should I add something? Right? So you grow as a composer, you grow as a arranger, and you grow through the ear training based on that material. So now, even though you release something but it's like, okay, you still went through that process, what keeps you basically grow and keeps you expand upon the music creation. All right. Eventually, we are going to create a video related to sequences, just a little bit in a deeper level with MPC-X. And also there will be a bunch of videos related to editing as well. So stay tuned for more. My name is Piotr Kowalczyk. See you next time.